Hey everyone, welcome back to Secret Sonics. This is Mix Notes episode number 5, which I'm calling, these are a few of my favorite things, the compressor version. This is like the first time I'm actually trying to like talk about gear plugins. And it's also the first time I'm trying to combine the audio and the video format. So there'll be like a YouTube version and a podcast version of this episode, I hope. And so if you're listening to the podcast and you want to watch it, then there should be a link in the description below. So I figured I'd talk about 5 of my favorite compressors that I'm using all the time and what I'm using them for, what they sound like. And so I just pulled up a mix that I did for my buddy Yerachmiel recently called My Boys. It's a very heartfelt song. It's kind of part ballad, part rock and roll. I would say it's like a combo between like a Billy Joel and a U2 kind of song. So it's got kind of those epic guitars at the end and kind of that piano ballad thing also as well. You'll hear it in the course of this video / podcast. So here are a few of my favorite things. This is we'll start with the stereo bus compressor because that seems to be the glue, right? Everybody uses stereo bus compression. Maybe not anymore, but a lot of people are using stereo bus compression. I shouldn't say everyone. And I'll kind of just show you what it sounds like and why I'm using it. So this is my stereo bus compressor these days is the BX Townhouse bus compressor from Plug-in Alliance. So it's basically an SSL style compressor. And what I like about it is that it's a bit punchier than most SSL compressors. It's similar, but a little bit punchier. It gives that glue and holds things together in a nice punchy way. If I want something that's not punchy, I would probably opt for a different stereo bus compressor. Like the Slate Gray does a similar thing, but it's more warm and kind of round in the bottom, so to speak. Whereas this is just tighter, punchier. So depending if I'm going for like more of a rock sound or if I'm going for more of like a, I don't know, lush sound. It just depends what I'm going for in the song itself. But usually I'm using this. I guess 9 times out of 10 I'm using the Townhouse bus compressor as my stereo bus compressor. And you can have a look here at my settings. I usually use it at a 2-to-1 ratio. Attack at 10 and release at the fastest. And so I'll just kind of play you a section of the song here, in and out. So here's the Townhouse compressor in, and then I'll play it for you. So here's 4 bars with it in.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy, having aching my soul from memories. Well, you're all in my heart.
And now I'll take it out.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy, having aching my soul from memories. Well,
back in.
you're all in my heart, as large as a galaxy, having aching my soul from
out.
memories. Well,
in.
you're all in my heart, as large as a
out.
galaxy.
Now there's a bit more level when it's out because it is taking out a bit of gain, and I didn't set the makeup correctly, quote unquote. But what I'm hearing that it's doing, listening back to this mix now, is that the low end kind of gets cleaned up. It was a little bit muddy before, a little bit kind of too mushy, and now it feels nice and tight and punchy. And it does that glue thing that you want your stereo bus compressor to do. So that's that for the Townhouse compressor. Let's move down the chain. This mix got a lot of love from Sam Pura's plugin, the VU compressor, which is kind of like his 1176 compressor. I could play it for you on the bass, for example. Here, let's listen to the bass. So I'm actually using it in the 3A. It's kind of it's like an LA 3A style version. And I have it in parallel. I have a clean one and a not clean one. This is the clean one. This is the distortion one. I don't remember if I automated this in and out. Actually, I put it in a lot of places. It's also on the vocal. Maybe let's jump to the vocal. Let's find that lead vocal.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy, having aching my soul from memories. Well, you're all in my heart, as large as a galaxy.
Okay, so this compressor, I have it here on like kind of a more blue strip kind of style 1176 thing. Let's see how it's all actually. I'm actually getting a lot of gain reduction from it.
All in my heart, as large as the galaxy, have an ache in my soul.
Without it.
All in my heart, as large as the galaxy, have an ache in my soul from memory.
So it just gets it makes it so upfront, and it also gives it that kind of like added edge, which I love. And so what I actually ended up doing is for the beginning of the song, when it's a ballad, I actually didn't even I took it out. So I had it originally in all throughout the song, and I ended up taking out the VU compressor at the beginning of the song when it's just a ballad because it was just too much. So the vocal needed to be warmer and softer at the beginning, but then as the song progressed and got harder, I wanted that kind of upfront edginess. So I kind of toggle it in and out. So at the beginning, it's like I literally duplicated the entire vocal chain for the beginning, and then I got rid of the VU compressor. So I could show you at the beginning of the song what it sounds like.
Where are my boys? Come home to your father. Your shining faces are in other places, and only getting far.
So here I wanted the vocal to sound very tender. And then as the song kind of ramps up and gets a little bit rock and roll, that's when the VU compressor comes in. I'll show you.
A heart and heart, and a lie each day. What will it take to soften?
All right, so shout out to Sampura and the Purified VU compressor, because this definitely got some good love once the song got rock and rolling. Another compressor that I use on the vocal, and that this is the next compressor I'll talk about. I think all the other compressors are from Slate because I love the virtual the virtual mix rack because it's just so easy to stack compressors and quickly see what's working. And there's some great compressors in there. And so this kind of this compressor, the FG401, which is kind of their VCA style compressor, is kind of like probably the #1 compressor I use because it's so transparent. I'm able to just get such transparent compression out of it. So when I'm doing my podcast, for example, this is like the compressor I use on. It's like the first compressor I jumped for on my chain doing podcasts, and anything that I feel needs a little bit of like that compression love, that little bit more up front, but without kind of hearing it too much. This is kind of my go-to compressor for that specifically. So that usually includes acoustic guitars. If I just want to like kiss an electric guitar, but not too much. I mean, it depends. Obviously, everything is dependent. And I often will use this in tandem with another compressor for a vocal. So I get a little bit of like clean compression, maybe 3 to 5 dB of like bringing up the level without hearing it before I jump into something that gives it a bit more character, maybe like the Distressor style or an 1176 style or an LA2A style kind of compressor. That's kind of what I tend to do with vocals. And there might be EQs in between or not, just kind of depends. But this FG401, I love it for this kind of thing. And so I have this on his vocal as well.
Down the block, yet a million miles away, my door is always open.
So this is giving me like 5 dB of compression before the VU. So I'll take it out. You're still hearing the VU compressor.
I have a hole in my heart as large as a galaxy.
Now
I have
in.
an ache in my soul from memories. Will you please
Without it.
come home to me?
With it. So it's just bringing the vocal up front more. It's giving it more of a warmth kind of sheen than the VU compressor did. That was more of like that aggressive edge, and this is giving it that kind of warm thing. And again, I use this compressor on everything. I think it's on the keys. Here are the pianos. Without it. With it. There's other compressors on it. It's hard to do this in isolation because there's so many things happening. But anyways, the FG401 VCA compressor is a mainstay, and I use it all the time. Yeah, I think I actually did on the bass bus. You can hear it here on the bass bus. Here's the bass by itself. Without it. So it's giving it a bit of level also, but it's also just kind of solidifying the bass. Again, everything is in context, but these are a few of my favorite things. So that compressor. The next compressor from Slate is their de-stressor, the FG Stress, which I just love it on drums. It's just the best on drums. De-stressor on drums. And I haven't tried the what's it called, Universal Audio version. I know that Plug-in Alliance just came out with one, but this one just works so well. So I'll just show you. I have like on a drum bus here, just kind of in parallel. It's mixed in. I have it mixed in at 25% on the 20-to-1 setting, and I'll just show you what that sounds like on the drums in and out. So let's go to that chorus section.
All in my heart as long.
This is the drums. So I'm gonna let's bypass the FG Stress and just hear what that drum sound like before it. In. Out. In. So I mean, I think it's adding a ton of excitement. I'll just kind of maybe it's subtle, but it's adding excitement. And the truth is, I usually put it on individual drums like a kick or a snare. And on this track, I didn't do that for some reason, so I won't show you those individual channels. But if I just raise the mix up to like 100%, let's hear what that sounds like. It's just squeezing it and giving it this great like energy, and that's obviously way too much. And I have the distortion 2 button plugged in. But I kind of just rolled the mix back down until I felt it was the right amount of it. Listening back now, I might have made it a little bit more. Let's hear what that sounds like with the bass. I guess I wanted it to sound a little bit more natural. I don't know. Yeah, I left it at 25%. Anyways, I love this plugin, the FG Stress. Great on drums. Brings out that kind of classic drum excitement that you want to get out of a drum kit. Was there any last compressors? Yes, there's one more compressor that I want to show, also from the Slate bundle. I know I use a lot of the Slate bundle, but it just works because of the virtual mix rack, and they're great plugins. And I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just literally using these plugins. I think I used this on the backing vocals on this track, if I remember correctly. Let's find the backing vocals.
Will you please, as large as a galaxy, have an ache in my soul from memories? Will you pull in my heart?
So this plugin, which I haven't even mentioned yet, is the custom Opto. It's kind of like their, I think it's the CL1B version from Slate. And it's kind of like LA2A on steroids. And this is a great plugin, and I use it all the time, and it just works so well. And I'm usually using the flat mode or the warm mode, and the warm mode actually adds a lot of nice warm character. So I will often do, if like a vocal is like a little bit banal sounding, needs a little bit of extra character, then I'll usually use like a warm. I could use this a lot on a vocal like that, or just straight up on a bass. It sounds so good. And so here I used it specifically on the backing vocals. And I don't know if there was a rhyme or reason. It's just something I felt like maybe the vocals needed more warmth or more of that whatever it was that this does. So let's just listen to the backing vocals without it, or let's listen with it.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy, have an ache in my soul from memories. Will you pull in?
We're taking off like 5 to 6 dB of compression of gain here. I'm gonna I'm gonna disable it.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy, have an ache in my soul from memories.
Back in.
Will you pull in my heart?
So actually, let me just like give it some gain without the plugin.
All in my heart, as large as a galaxy.
With it.
All in my heart, as large as as a galaxy.
So what I'm finding it's doing here is it's just like tightening up those vocals in a very nice, pleasing way, bringing out a little bit of the warmth in the vocal, and yeah, just doing it so nice. This is actually not the best example for this plugin. If I had opened another mix, I could have shown you more on like a vocal or a bass what it's doing. But it's just a great compressor, and I use it to kind of just especially if I want to add a little bit of warmth to something or a little bit of character, but without too much character. Like I don't want like distressor style character. I want kind of that more warmy kind of. I guess the distressor character is punchiness and grit, and this is kind of the character of like warmth and lushness. So that's kind of usually where I'll use this custom opto compressor, and I'll use that all the time. So anyways, those are 5 of my favorite compressors that I use all the time, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you dug it. And yeah, I hope if you want more videos like this, please let me know. I'm kind of working out content creation and doing new things and making more interesting stuff. So let me know if this is good for you. I'd love to hear back from you. And thanks for listening to this episode or watching this episode on YouTube. And until next time, take care, everyone.